Welcome to the Digital Resilience Series. I'm Patrick Sheehan, CEO of the Fellsway Group, and I'm very excited to have Stephen Karaczynski, CEO of Stack8, on the line today. Stephen, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Pat, doing well. Great to be with you.
Yeah, thanks for joining. I'm really excited. We're launching this new series, really designed for business leaders to understand what's going on in the market. There's no doubt that we're all home trying to figure out what this new normal is. And I was really intrigued by two things. One, our relationship in your business around unified communications. And two, your perspective about the productivity of remote workers and as we try to figure out this new normal. So for the folks that are consuming this video, a little background on yourself, Stephen, and Stack8 would be very great.
Yeah, sure. So thanks again, Pat, for having me today. So myself, I've been in the telecom unified communication business for, I'd say about 17 years now. Started my career at Cisco. I was there for about 7 years, and then started Stack8 in 2010. So it's been 10 years we've been in business now. We're a unified communications focused organization, and essentially our purpose is to make it easy for businesses to use technology so they can deliver on their promises. What we do as an organization, we sell, support, manage, and develop unified communications tools and applications for the mid-market and large enterprise across North America. That's essentially who we are and what we do as a business.
Great. So really appreciate you having, there's two perspectives. One, I think you've got, as the CEO of Stack8, you've identified your own challenges. We were chatting just before this about some of the things that you and I both face as a business owner. But you also have a unique perspective of working with clients that have either reacted or had some proactivity around their remote workforce, around the communications elements. So given the fact that we're in this pandemic, if one thing kind of pops out, the biggest issue that you think caught most organizations prior to this pandemic where they were unprepared, is there something that sticks in your mind as far as one thing that folks really missed?
You know, I don't think anybody ever expected for all of the employees or all of the members of their team to require using this technology, this collaboration tools, these unified communication tools, so they can work remotely and be productive. That is the biggest thing. They were never set up for everyone in the environment to use. There was select teams, departments, and groups that had the capabilities to work from home, but it was never designed that way. And as a result, when quarantine started happening across different provinces and states in Canada and the US, it was a mad rush to get everybody set up from home because we had to keep the lights on and keep going. And so the biggest things we were helping customers with was setting these tools up and making sure that they were up and running for the entire organization. And so that was the biggest thing, is just not being prepared, and we never had the foresight and in a fair way, never had to think that we would be in a situation like this. So really caught off guard from that perspective.
Sure. That's an interesting, I would agree, right? I don't think anybody foresaw this. It does go back to this notion of being prepared, this disaster recovery, business continuity exercises that may or may not have happened. So if you can recall back on the last 10 years of being at Stack8 and working with clients, is any perspective into the ones that were better prepared? Were they ahead of it? Did they segment, this react phase, I get caught everybody off guard, but were there folks that you felt that did a better job of maybe incorporating their disaster recovery into their communication strategies that may be in a more advantageous position, or is that correlating too much?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I think the majority were kind of in the same boat. I think depending on the business that you're in, you're more apt to have and be already used and comfortable with some of these communication tools to allow you to work remotely, like we're using today.
Sure.
I think some organizations, just simply from the fact of a compliance perspective, are a little bit more diligent in testing their systems and testing the robustness and redundancy of their systems a couple of times throughout the year to make sure everything is set up properly and up and running. But generally speaking, nothing particularly stood out more than that.
Yeah, got it. I remember my own experience. I was selling unified communications, as you know, back in Cisco in the early 2000s, and I was dealing with a law firm that just it's kind of funny how technology is advanced. My selling value proposition at that stage was being able to access voicemails from your BlackBerry, if you can believe it, and this notion of a soft phone client. And it was a long, drawn-out process. They said, hey, this is way too expensive for my business. I just don't see the value. I get voicemails, blah, blah, blah. And then the transit strike in New York City happened. And the only folks that were able to continue to bill and be productive were the ones that were part of this trial as the soft phone clients that were able to remotely telework. And I'll never forget how happy I was when that managing partner came back and said, we're in. Where do I sign? Because they were forced into this business transformation, this forced digital transformation, whatever it was. But at the same time they had identified that the communication collaboration tools allowed this remote workforce to be productive, but also created more resiliency in their day-to-day, which I think was great. Right. So
for sure.
15 years ago.
You see those all the time. And it kind of plays into what our strategy is as an organization. So when I talk about our purpose and I say we make it simple and easy for customers to deliver on their promises, we've been doing that kind of stuff for the last 10 years. And so where we've been able to help really quickly is help customers set up their entire user bases with their soft phones, with these communication tools in 24, 48 hours in some cases. And so because we're building those types of tools and we're working towards that mission during good times and in tough times like this, we've really been able to make a difference for customers, even though they might not have been prepared. Because of the technology and some of the tools and automation that we've developed to help customers in case for this situation, they've been turning it up. And we've had a bunch of examples where, 5,000, 10,000 users were turned up and ready to go like on a weekend. And so, we're pretty thankful and grateful that we're able to really deliver on that mission in tough times today for these customers.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And
it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. One, as a business owner, and two, that social impact that what we're doing potentially saves jobs, right? I think that's the bigger picture, right? Knowing
Absolutely.
There's a bigger play than just getting money from a customer.
Yeah, because it's, we're helping healthcare organizations that are on the front lines, that are really knee deep in everything that's going on, need to be productive and up and running. And so to support organizations like that, it's great to be able to make a difference for sure.
And just digging into something you said there, talk a little bit about unified communications. What technologies are you actually seeing being deployed? I mean, I've been out of the space for a little while. I remember the soft phone clients. There's obviously video collaboration tools. We're using one now. There's been a lot of information on that for the last couple of weeks. But what technologies are you seeing people really use to be effective and productive, more importantly?
Look, it's really basic at the end of the day. We're talking voice and video. So whether it's an organization's soft phone, video calling like we're doing today, regardless of all the major manufacturers, the WebEx, the Zooms and whatnot, these are the collaboration video and voice tools that we're setting up across the board. There's some outlying back-end infrastructure to make sure that this stuff is running effectively, but for the stuff that matters, it's this. And if you think about it, before everyone's in their office, every conversation you have with your neighbor on the desk next to you, or you go sit in a conference room and talk, you're all doing that face to face. Every single one of these conversations now is running on these systems that we're talking about, these unified communication systems. So every call to your neighbor, every meeting is now become something on these systems. So what's the two biggest impacts that we've seen is these technologies have gone from commodity, a little bit taken for granted, like we would with our electricity. You flip the switch, everything's up and running, or it's good enough. Now these systems are mission critical. There is no business today that can operate effectively without being able to communicate. Two, it also means immediately since quarantine, utilization on these systems has gone up 2-3-fold. And so now how do we support, maintain, keep these systems running and running effectively are critical as we move into the next phase. But the biggest surprise or aha moment for me and my team is, it's one thing for these systems to be up and running to allow us to work and get through our day to day. But now these systems are the ones that are guarding the culture of organizations, the one that are keeping morale up. Because, if I'm just doing email with you or instant message all day, that's okay to get some work done. But us as people, we need some interaction. I need to see some people. I need to feel some engagement. I need to feel connected with members of my team. And so without these tools that we have today, it's almost impossible to keep that culture, spirit, and morale up. And so these things have gone to a whole other level of the value that they represent to business today. And so it raises the criticality of these systems to be up and running well, and make sure that they're easy for all of the members of the team to be able to use. Because you know as well as I do, in organizations, regardless of industry type, you have your power users, ones that are really, really comfortable with technology, and a whole slew of others that are a little bit less. But these tools that we're using today, they've got to kind of be equal in bringing everybody together. So it's really been interesting to see how in the last 6 weeks, the reliance and importance of these tools have changed dramatically.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going back, right? I totally agree. You touched on a couple of things there. I think from the employee morale and culture perspective, these technologies have been critical to keep everybody connected, right? The social fabric, not only of the culture of the organization, but us as humans, right? I mean, I'm in a dart league with some friends and family members. We're all remote in our own place, but we're playing darts against each other on a video call, just to continue that connection with others, right? That culture, that fun, that connectivity, so to speak. And I definitely, on the Fellsway group side, my wife was actually asking me yesterday, it was pretty funny. She said, well, do you think you can take that call, and we can walk around and get the kids out of the house for a minute? And I said, the calls haven't really been calls anymore. They're video calls, right? Because of that connectivity and the FaceTime. And I'm not even calling our parents and grandparents. It's not a voice call anymore. It's video, because we crave that. So I do think it accelerates some of that social fabric and that social connection to keep things, employee morale high, which is absolutely paramount during a pandemic crisis like this.
We're seeing, and I think what's really interesting, at least in our organization, so we're desensitized to some of this technology because we're selling it, we're supporting it, we're developing on it, and we've been using it, forever, the same way you and your colleagues have. But what's been cool for us is we've always had a great team and pride in ourselves of being connected and having a real spirit and really tied into our corporate values. But I would say being at home has brought us even closer together, because we're reaching out more, we're speaking to each other more. There's more kind of team events that are going on throughout the week with the team, whether it's virtual lunches where there's some funny stuff going on all over the time. We're doing some kind of workouts together a couple of times a week. There's some fun evenings, or watching a movie together connected, or trivia nights. So we as an organization have almost been brought closer together, even though physically we've never been more apart. So it's an amazing thing. Mm-hmm. I do hope we get to see each other and shake hands and give each other a hug one day soon. But in the meantime, these tools are making a huge difference. But that's where the crux comes in, because so they're amazing. And now that these are beginning to become mainstay, what do companies need to do to ensure that these are up and running all the time, that they continue to get better integrated, that they're spending the right money on these tools, not too much, not too little. Those are all going to be part of kind of this next phase of how do we continue and move on in a bit of a different reality.
Yeah, agreed. And so a couple of things there that I'd like to unpack. I think the social elements, I think we've always talked about this. You and I worked at Cisco, and it was always about how technology can change the way we live, work, and play, and that John Chambers mantra, so to speak. But yet, let's be honest, I think technology organizations within some companies have been underfunded for 2 decades, right? I think this is forcing their hand. There was a great comment made in an article that I read that said, as a service saved my SaaS. And I laughed because I think these CIOs that weren't able to get the funding that they required for that digital transformation or modernization or whatever way you want to call it, I think we'll get it now. I mean, I know that we're seeing reports that people are stopping capital expenditures until they understand the economic impact. But at the same time these are critical tools that, to your point, have a cultural and reputational impact on the employees and your clients, but also can ensure productivity. So can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you've seen out there and how people are being more productive? I think you had some anecdotes in your article that you published around how people now are making lemons out of lemonade, so to speak, right? In regards that, hey, we're home now. Yes, we have distractions. I've got kids, you've got kids, we're running businesses, but at the same time I think it forces a little bit more rigidity and structure into the organization that allows more productivity. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. Look, with what you said at the beginning, as far as these applications becoming critical, one of my favorite things that I learned from the get-go when I got into this business was that communications is one of the most critical applications running on the network, and now it's been proven that that's the case to be. So I definitely think there will be more attention and more dollars invested in these technologies because, like we said, they've gone from commodity, nice to have, to mission critical. So I don't see how it can be avoided. From a productivity perspective, we've seen massive jumps across our customers, and even friends of mine, anecdotally, who are running businesses, what they've seen from their respective teams. I think it's for a couple of reasons. I think there's a little bit more earnest today for folks that are working from home. There's a sense of pride to still be working. It's healthy to keep us working for our mind as well, to get really engaged in something and really do it well. I think it's somewhat therapeutic in spite of everything that's going on. So I think people are digging in and have a little bit more focus right now in general. I also think a lot of the things that got in our way before out of our days are gone, right? Like, people aren't sitting in their car for 2 hours a day to get to and from the office. All you got to do is walk upstairs or downstairs and you're there. There's a lot less interruptions of, going out outside for a walk or an hour and a half lunch. We're able to be a lot more efficient. I think people are still taking time to have good conversations and connecting with their friends and their peers. But at the same time, it's very different than sitting, for an hour and a half or 2 hours at a restaurant, as opposed to a real engaging 15, 20-minute video catch up on one of these tools. So I think all of those things combined are leading to tremendous productivity, and the stories I'm hearing are tremendous, right? Like, getting stuff done in a week that would normally take you 3 weeks to do. And these stories are coming along all over the place. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that moving forward. And I think as people have new routines that are, I believe, more healthy in a lot of cases, making people feel a lot more happy and connected in a lot of cases, will hopefully be the new norm for a lot of people, right? We gotta find all of the positives and good things coming out of this quarantine and take all of the good stuff that we've been able to have as a result of being home, be connected with more of our friends and family, get a little bit more done, and should lead to positive things for the future.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't think we're going to go back to the previous ways or the legacy ways or whatever you want to call it. I think there will be a new normal. I don't think anybody knows what that is quite yet. But the social fabric elements, the technology elements, the risk management, right? From our standpoint, we're talking to clients right now, just making sure that as they talk to professionals like yourself around communications, that they understand their tolerance for downtime, right? There are issues as we become more digitized. We expose ourselves to inherent cyber risk. There's some bad actors and threat actors out there that are feasting on this reaction of the markets to be more digital. And I think that's something that we got to balance between the upside productivity benefits and all the things that you articulated, which I totally agree with, and the downside risk exposure that as we become decentralized as a company or as an organization or as a culture, that we're staying vigilant and aware that there's some people out there that are trying to undermine that exact goal. So it's just a matter of balancing that. I'm a huge believer in technologies, always have been. And when they're applied in the right way, they're amazing. The telehealth organizations out there, like you said, we've got one that we work with that were able to transform their business from seeing patients in person to telehealth in a couple of weeks, whereby that would have been a 6 to 9 month project for them. So tremendous banding together as brothers and sisters through this to have a social economic impact, but more importantly, save jobs and be more productive and take pride in our work. So we've got a few more minutes left, Stephen. Just we hit on some really interesting topics. Is there a couple of takeaways that you would have either to business leaders that are looking for some guidance around how to be more effective with technology, or CIOs that are trying to justify budgets in these technologies that may have not been as invested in as they probably should be moving forward?
Okay, I think a few things. I think, one, and maybe this is kind of to finish up on the productivity piece, despite, all the challenges and room for improvement, and to kind of really hone in on these things, what organizations across the country have been able to do in a month to go from running a business the old way into the new way is phenomenal. And we have to give the customers we know and organizations we know tremendous credit, because on a dime, we made a hard right, and everybody has adjusted really, really well to this new reality. I'll even speak for organizations like schools. I'm on the board of my children's school, and them as well. Same like any other organization. They went, from 1 week teaching and learning in a classroom to the next week doing it all online, really, really successfully. It shows tremendous resilience of what we're able to achieve as human beings. And that when we put our mind to something and got to get something done, it's amazing how much we can do it. And if we had 2 years to do it under beautiful sunny skies and conditions, we wouldn't have done it. But the fact that we had to do it and had no choice, it's really phenomenal how we've been able to adjust and make things happen in a short period of time. So, whatever that measure of productivity is there, in and of itself is phenomenal. The only other thing I'd say is, where the focus needs to go is, now that we've got our legs from under us and we're a little bit more comfortable and was looking to how do we start moving forward, I think understanding what we have, does it properly support our environment, and analyzing those things coupled with, cost savings, functionality that we need, are we getting the right return, and are we set up properly for, business continuity, regardless of what hits us from the future? Those are the questions and things we need to start looking at and analyzing as organizations. This is where we're spending time with our customers to either optimize what they have, adjust what they have, and ensure that they're prepared to continue on working like this or any other way that comes their future. But, we got set up quickly. Now we got to dig in for what the long term looks like, and having these tools integrated with other systems in organizations, making sure that they're easy to use and cost effective is the key. And so that's where the focus is for us. And, continuing to assist our customers and to help them with, that purpose of ours is to make this stuff simple and easy so that they can deliver on their promises. That's what it's all about for us. Yeah,
I love it, Stephen. You hit on some points there. Productivity, the ability to scale for a longer term pandemic or disruption to make sure that the services are available. And at the end of the day, make more informed decisions. And I think that's an important piece that we talked about even earlier, is take a look at the data. Even though we're reacting and there's pressure on us to respond to key stakeholders, whether internally or externally, we're making decisions. But capture that data, understand why you made that decision, so that you have, as we come out of this react phase and into this respond and recover, is we have the data, we've understood why the decisions that we made, and can we look back to say, were those the right ones? Yes or no? How do we need to adjust them to ensure that long-term viability and success of not only our organizations, but servicing our clients' needs? So really appreciate the time this morning. Very valuable. Stephen Karachinsky, CEO of Stack 8. Thanks again, Stephen.
Hey, Pat. It's always a pleasure. Keep safe, be well, and hope to talk to you soon, okay?
Likewise, bud. Take care.